Okay, we're ready. Yep.
Okay, okay. Good afternoon. How are you doing, sir?
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Okay, so my name's Marcia Goodman Hinnershitz, and I'll be chairing the meeting today. It's an interview with the Nominations Committee. So we do a very informal interview, but the goal of the interview is to make a determination how we fill the slots presently available on the board. And we do have 3 candidates and 2 slots available, just to let you know.
Okay.
Moving ahead, I'm going to let my other council members introduce themselves. Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa Ventura with District 3 in the city.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And I'm Chris Miller from District 6.
Nice to meet you, Chris.
You too.
Okay, so what we'd like to start out with, do you mind if I call you Ed?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so what was your interest in applying for this board?
So, excuse me. I'm interested to ensure that electrical work is done in a safe and workmanlike manner for the community and the residents of the community, to keep everyone safe. Electricity is a very dangerous trade, you know, and if it is not installed correctly, there could be underlying problems that could pose many, many risks. Sometimes it may take years for something to come about where someone can get seriously hurt, or there could be serious fires. So I feel the city of Reading is very fortunate to have a board like this to govern their electrical installations. The rest of the state of Pennsylvania is not like this. There are a lot of city authorities that do enact something like this, but a lot do not. And it's very dangerous not to. So I think it's fortunate that the city of Reading does, and I would love to be a part of it.
How did you become aware that the board had a vacancy?
I heard through the grapevine, through our business manager here. He was a former board member here, Mark Pincusavage.
Okay. Okay. Chris or Melissa, would you like to follow up with questions?
Yeah. The electrical board meets quarterly at 4:30 p.m. Are you willing to dedicate time and effort to the duties of this board?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Are there any certain things that you feel that the electrical board should try to accomplish?
No, nothing in particular other than maintaining the qualified electricians are doing the work properly. I think that is really, really important. A lot of times out there you see, and it really affects the customers. And in this case, it could be the city as the customer or its residents, whereas someone could market themselves as an electrician, and they may even be an electrician, and they're going to charge someone electrician rates. But a lot of times the electricians are not the people doing the work. A lot of times it's a helper or just someone they found to give them a hand. And that too is very dangerous, because not only is an unqualified person doing the work, but the customer, the city or the residents, are paying for an electrician to do the job, but the electricians are not doing the job. So I feel it's important to ensure qualified people are performing the work on the job sites.
Ed, with your career now, do you specialize in a certain type of electrical work?
Industrial, commercial, and residential. Yes, we will
Okay.
do all 3. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, a follow-up to the previous question. If you would find, being on the electrical board, that there were things that were not looked at in the way that they needed to be, that there were problems, how do you think that should be addressed by the city?
Can you give me an example?
Okay, so for instance, not having enough outlets to be able to support the service that's needed, or having and I'm not really good with my electrical terms,
Sure.
okay, but okay, having not the right kind of lines, like not having 220 when you need one. Do you see where I'm going? Because I've seen that happen where people are trying to overload their circuits because it's a less expensive way to do it.
Sure, sure. And that's the importance of the inspector the city hires. You know, the inspector is out there looking at that stuff, and he would bring any type of issues to the board like that for the board to make any type of determination. And then people like myself who are very fluent, and also the inspector is very fluent, I'm sure, in his National Electrical Code. But we would determine what is needed by code, and in reality, what is needed to ensure that there is no possible danger for the community or the residents or the customer or whoever it may be on the receiving end.
I have no further questions.
Just a little bit about how familiar you are with, you talked about working commercial, residential. How familiar are you with the types of properties in the city that may need to have inspection?
So I've personally worked at like the old Ludens building in the factory. I believe it's
Sorry.
8th and Washington, I believe. I've worked at the amphitheater. I've installed the power for the cameras throughout the city. So I've worked in a lot of residential places, not so much in the city of Reading, but in the city of Pottsville. So row homes, I worked in a lot of different types of row homes. Commercial, I've worked in the Reading Hospital many times. I've done a lot of urgent care centers outside of the city of Reading. And then industrial, I was a superintendent at where I did a lot of design build work on the industrial side of things as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Do you have any questions for us at all?
No, I don't think so.
Anything, Chris?
No,
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I just want to thank you for being so committed to applying for this position. So
Yeah,
we will
thank
be
you.
getting back to you once we make our decision, but I just, again, thank you for wanting to be part of the city and make a difference.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, you take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Hey.
Bye.
Good afternoon.
Correct. Night comes when I leave my regular job and come here.
That's how I feel too. When I walk home, get home, nighttime.
Keep forgetting to turn the thing off. I know I have awful
Yeah.
music.
Oh,
That's funny.
You know what song that is?
No, I was gonna ask you.
Okay, it's Linda Ron said, "When Will I Be Loved?" Which actually, oh no, come on. Who was that originally by? The Bopper.
I just know if I remember wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the 80s, 70s.
Oh, let's hear that though.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that Bonnie Raitt won last night. That was so good. We have to make a decision between. And you guys interviewed you.
I'm gonna have to watch it because I forgot.
I have my decision made.
Do you? Oh, okay.
I got number 2. Fairly young, and he just, I mean, he was nice, but he just didn't seem as, what's the word? Not professional, but like, he just didn't seem like he was ready.
Ambitious, maybe?
Seasoned.
Season.
Very diplomatic.
Yeah, that's
And
a
I'm
good
gonna have to
word.
defer to both of you for that. Number,
Well, I
one
mean,
and
you
two.
can watch it and see.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah.
I'm gonna,
Yeah, I will go back and.
but I think I now remember who they were, maybe. Was the other one?
Second one was the one,
Did we have one here?
no, he was young.
No, the first one.
Oh, goodness.
I don't remember. one.
Second one, I remember he mentioned how he had been an Eagle Scout. So that's good, but I don't know how that's gonna play in this position.
Second one is a journeyman.
He just didn't seem as polished as the first one and the third one.
Well, you know, they gotta be put in this position so they can learn and grow.
Yes.
Yeah, the first one's a master. This one, I believe, is also a master electrician. The second one was a journeyman.
So, and I could tell.
Okay. I see what you mean.
No, this one is also a journeyman.
He sounds like he's a little bit more.
He really was.
I think it was when he mentioned about the multiple types of building.
Today was a journeyman since 2008. One.
Did you say the youth commission, she's gonna be in person?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So we're waiting for Dr.
Yeah, Dr. Detta will be on. He confirmed with me earlier this
okay.
afternoon, so.
Have you interviewed my Dr. Detta?
I did. Father? Or Michael?
Okay.
I don't know.
And. Pretty sure this is the house that is up there, father design. Was on tour. And,
Oh,
I am pretty sure. On that.
I don't see the questions for Board of Health. Behind it?
yeah, they're on the-
Oh, I see it now. It's behind. Excuse me.
I think it's interesting that we have a Board of Health in the city, but we don't have a county Board of Health. And so this Board of Health has a much different function than the county Board of Health would.
This is a reappointment.
Right?
Yes.
He actually asked me how long he's been serving.
He came on after Dr. Hassel, right? Turner and me.
Yeah, he came on after Dr. Kimball left, I
Oh,
believe,
okay, okay.
because he did serve a little bit of time with Dr. Wong. Yeah, 2012.
Is this board meeting regularly?
Yep, we meet every other month.
I don't feel like I've seen minutes from there.
I think you're right.
I may have been forgetting. I'll email them to you.
But these are the ones that the concerns about the lead contamination, fluoride in the water, all those kind of things they can give an opinion on.
Yeah, the most recent one they did was the adding mold to the property maintenance code.
Right. You're very helpful with the smoke-free legislation way back in the day.
Yeah, and Bernhardt's.
Yeah, and Bernhardt's, yeah.
How do they inform, educate, and empower the citizens of writing about health issues? Well, maybe I should ask him.
Yeah, I think that's a good question to ask him, because I think our experience
never
with,
knew that.
with COVID showed where we were lacking as far as that particular
Mhm.
piece of it. Everything was sort of piecemeal together.
Oh, there he is.
Hello,
Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Zetoff. How you doing?
how are you? How are you guys? Good afternoon.
And so you're up for being interviewed again for the Board of Health.
Sure, why not? I've done this a few times.
Yeah, I think I've interviewed you a couple times.
Yeah, maybe. I
Marshall.
think Strat did the very first time, but
Right,
I've been
right.
on the board probably for 10 years, so it's maybe more than that.
So I just wanted you to meet our other council people you may not have met before.
Okay,
Hi, Melissa Ventura with District 3.
Where is District 3? I'm gonna show my ignorance.
It's starting from Walnut and 9th, 8th Street up to 14th, going over to Windsor,
Okay, so kind of on the northwest side.
Northeast.
Oh, northeast. Oh, okay. All right. I had you on the other side. Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
And I'm Chris Miller and I'm District 6. So my
Nice.
district would be Robinson to Spruce. And from 6 about over to 2nd.
Okay. Now, are you the person who was appointed in the other person's absence?
Correct.
Okay, and you're friends of Bill Bender?
Yes, he's my husband.
Yes, right. Yes, I know that. I knew Bill from back in the days of St. Joe's, and I
Oh.
just ran into Bill at this car wash, and then again at the Vivaldi concert down at the Sovereign Center.
I was
So,
there.
oh, were you? I didn't see you. I was talking to him with a few minutes.
He actually had to go early because he was a greeter. He's on the
Okay.
committee board.
Right. And we also share a mutual friend in Tom Fox. He speaks very highly of you. He was very happy to see you take that post. So,
Oh, that's
well,
good to hear.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
I
what,
talked to Tom this morning. He had problems with his email. I'm his computer guru when he has problems. I'm sorry, let's go.
yeah, let's not reminisce, but anyhow, you've been on the board for a while, just your interest in staying on the board and things that you.
Yeah,
think
I would like
needed.
to. I'm in Indianapolis right now where my grandkids live, and I mentioned to Michelle that I would like to play a lesser role in a board and then eventually get off within a few years. I didn't want to leave and without us having somebody to come and take the place. And I thought maybe Dr. Kelleher would do that, but now I just was informed that she is moving on to a new job. So it's not clear whether she would be staying on the board. I'm guessing not. So I don't know whether I don't necessarily intend to serve out the whole 5-year term here. I'm doing this, I think, probably for about 12 years now. And the other thing is, I'm just, as I've been retired more and more years, I feel as though I'm kind of losing touch with what's going on in the medical community to some degree.
Right.
So I'm happy to have somebody replace me. We've got the new ordinances that we're going to be approving, though. Looks like it's going to be a little more restrictive of who can be on the board. For example, there were always people who were just members at large, just, public people who lived in the city, but who weren't necessarily doctors or nurses. And it appears as though those are going to go away. So it may be more difficult going forward to fill the board. I hope not.
Okay, what are the issues you see facing the board right now? You talked about different ordinances you're looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, right now, what they've talked about doing for years, and it's a slow process because I guess the lawyers got to review all this. And I understand that our city ordinances did not dovetail properly with the state ordinances, that they've been updated over the years, and that we needed to update our ordinances to reflect what the state says. And so they've just started that process. In fact, for the board meeting tomorrow, they've just sent the first few items. It's only a total of like 8 or 9 pages, which are going to be changed. So we'll be speaking about those. But that's not something that has consumed very much of our time, but it might going forward.
All right, Melissa?
I have one question. How does the board inform, educate, and empower the citizens and residents of Reading about health issues?
Well, that's a good question. I honestly, I don't know that we do a lot of that because we are not, we're only a group of volunteers who has no staff. And we've gotten involved with a few things. I know there were some questions back in when bed bugs were a hotbed issue. And so we did some research and put some stuff on we posted it somewhere. I forget what it was, but it was all about how to find bed bugs and then kind of outlining the responsibilities of who's responsible for remediating any bed bug problems, whether it be the landlord or the tenant or whatever. So we've done some of that.
How do you think you can do better with informing the citizens with the health issues and promoting it, what to do or what to look for?
I'm sorry, say it again?
How do you think the board can do better with informing the citizens of Reading?
Well, I'll tell you what, I spent 35 years of my practice talking myself blue in the face, trying to convince people that they need to follow healthy lifestyles. And I would tell you that for the most part, it went in one ear and out the other. And the biggest problem that I see in the city of Reading, health-wise, if you said to me, what's the biggest health problem in the city of Reading right now? It is something called metabolic disorder, which is a combination of obesity, diabetes, lipid disorder, and high blood pressure, hypertension. And each one of those in of itself is not a good thing to have. When you put all four of them together, it's really, really bad. And that's, in my opinion, the number one health problem in the city of Reading. But I don't know how you deal with that. Like I said, I've spent my whole life trying to encourage people in my office who I had them face to face who had a problem that would have been improved by dealing with those issues, some of those issues. And it's hard to get anybody to do anything. Early on, I had an idea and floated it, but it didn't gain any traction. I had this idea that maybe in the city we would start a program where one day a week, you know how sometimes offices have a thing where one day a week somebody brings in lunch for everybody. You know, you've seen offices do that already. You know, hey, tomorrow we're going to bring in, you know, whatever. You know, I'm going to make this. I'm going to make is an idea of like maybe one day a week or one day a month or whatever. You had healthy lunch day, where people tried to make and bring in things that would be considered healthy. So, you know, you're not bringing in hoagies or pizza, but we're always open to other ideas. But like I said, we don't really have a staff that works day in and day out that would be able to get out and promulgate information about healthy living. It's big, my big frustration in life.
Thank
But
you.
I have a question somewhat related to my profession as a realtor.
Okay.
And that's just because dealing with housing stock, it
Mhm.
seems like every couple of years we have a health issue that comes up. Over the years, it's been radon, it's been lead. And right now, if you follow social media, it seems like everybody's ready to throw their gas stoves out the window. Has the Board of Health ever thought about, like, with the fact that we're in social media now, that they would make a comment on issues that are prevalent on social media through the city website? I know you mentioned about the bed bugs, and
Mhm.
Shelley said that was the information was put on the website, but it just seems like in the 21st century, especially for health concerns in the city, to get the word out quickly, social media seems to be the way. And I think people need to hear from a board that has authority rather than just relying on hearsay. Has that ever been considered?
Well, first of all, I will tell you that I am personally not a fan of social media. I do not have a social media account. I personally consider it antisocial on media. I think there is a lot of bad things about social media, but that isn't to say that it has to be bad. And I think that something like a website where you would promulgate some information. But let me ask you something. Give me an example of something that you think we would want to promulgate on the social media website.
I just think over the years, there have been certain issues that specifically are related to urban living. And the one that comes to mind is the lead paint, and the fact that it's been reported in the newspaper that there are certain sections in the city that have higher levels of lead than other sections. And
Sure.
somehow to get the word out, the problem is it seems like people take the little bit of knowledge and just run with it, and it becomes a lot of hearsay and misinformation.
Mhm.
If the Board of Health has the position of being able to use their knowledge and say, these are the facts, these are not the facts. And if we could use that somehow, like on the city website, so people would know where to go to get actual answers.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the concern about lead in the city has been part of many discussions.
Sure.
From two standpoints, one with Wawa as far as whether there's still lead pipes, and they're very active about pulling those out when they find them. And then the greater problem, honestly, is not the lead that's coming in through the water supply, but the people who are living in the old houses. And I mean, we discussed that quite a bit. I don't know if there is, I mean, generally older houses are more prone to it. I don't know if there's specifically a geographical area where you could say, you know, post on the website, say, if you live here, you know, you've got to be concerned. The problem is it's not just a matter, I mean, it's just a matter of age, and it's not a matter of whether the houses are necessarily old or real old. But I guess we could, that's something we could consider, putting some information out there about that. Probably more importantly is to encourage their kids to be taken to the pediatricians, and for the pediatricians to be testing them. From what I understand, all the city kids that come in the city dispensaries, at least, they're all tested for lead. And the question is whether I know at one time I had talked to a number of pediatricians who work mostly in the suburbs, and they didn't always necessarily test for lead. They would ask certain questions, and if, you know, they tripped some responses that would make them believe that they should get tested, then they would test. A lot of pediatricians think that they should all be tested at a given, I forget what that age is. It might be 1 or 2. But I guess you could get some more information out about that. Another thing that came up that was every few years it comes up, and it's a big deal, was the fluoride in the water.
Right.
And that came up, that resurfaces every few years. And that came up, and boy, we got all sorts of people to write letters of support. And I don't know if we ever published anything about that, but I guess something like that you could put on a city website or a Facebook or something like that. I don't know if we even have a Facebook. Do we have a Facebook account?
No,
The city.
But there's
well,
a,
the city does, the board doesn't, because it would be me managing it.
Oh, right.
the city site.
The city has
Yeah.
a site, and I could
Right.
ask for things to get posted to the city site.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was interesting, when you saw what happened with COVID, you could tell we weren't as well organized as we needed to be, and things did start pulling together. And then that's when the whole issue started percolating about us not having a county board of health.
Right.
I wonder how you think about that. Do you think that's something that would benefit the city?
Well, I don't know. In the very beginning, I was frustrated because all these other counties were getting information about exactly where their COVID patients were, and we could get none of that information.
Mm.
And I spent quite a bit of time on the phone, and what I learned, and I think you probably know this, is that in fact, we do have a board of health. It's just run by the state.
Right.
And there's it's on Cherry Street, and I think there are 3 people, and they cover both our county and Berks County. And as you know, because we weren't a staffed, truly, it wasn't, Board of Health isn't the right word. I forget how they termed it.
It's a district office of the Department of Health. That's on.
And so they were able to get that information, but we were not. Eventually, they did say that they would give us that information. But if they did give us that information, then the onus was upon us to do certain things with that information that we didn't have the manpower to do.
Right.
So the question is whether we would be better off with our own. I forget, there aren't that many counties that have their own health departments. Lehigh does, and I think Bucks, but I think the majority do not. And there was a commission that was started with some of the Berks County commissioners, and one of the doctors on our Board of Health was on it. And I think those discussions have been stalled. Last I brought that up, I don't know that at a county level whether they're still looking into that.
Yeah,
I don't know
for
whether we would have been any better off or not.
Right.
The irony during COVID is that if you look at the legal responsibilities we have, we're supposed to be doing things like quarantining people. And back in 1905, when scarlet fever broke out in some area of Northwest Reading, I'm sure our board was responsible for doing that. But in this day and age, if you have some unusual disease, whether it's a, suddenly measles pops up or the CDC is on that and they kind of take charge of that. So I think a lot of the responsibilities that nominally are still ours, from a practical standpoint, I don't think we really get involved with or can get involved with.
Yeah,
I'm talking about communicable diseases. I
Right.
mean, if West Nile virus, shows up in, northwest section of the city tomorrow, the CDC is going to be all over that. And
Okay, well, I'm glad you're willing to stay committed. I don't know, does anyone else have any other questions for you?
No, I'm good.
No questions.
Okay. so-
alrighty, yeah. And I would ask you if any of you have any knowledge of people. We used to have 2 people who were at large that were just, members of the community that were interested in being on the board. Going forward, we can still grandfather. We have 1 person that meets that criteria. We have 1 person that can be grandfathered into that. But going forward, none of those people will exist. So everybody going forward, it appears, if I understand the new rules, has to be some sort of a health professional. And on top of that, they have to either live in the city of Reading or have their primary office in the city of Reading. So we're getting increasingly restrictive of who can be on the board. So anybody who has any knowledge of people who'd be interested in doing that, please let us know.
Okay.
And we're always welcome. We're always welcome to. We're always interested. If you have some suggestions of some things that we ought to be getting out there, I mean, we can put something together and get it out there somewhere.
Yeah, and for my job that I do with the Council on Chemical Abuse, we might be presenting some information to you. Okay.
Okay.
Regarding the opioid epidemic and some of the strategies moving forward.
Yeah. I don't know what the answer to that is. It's yeah. I know it's absolutely horrible. I think they said something like 10% of the population has some sort of a substance abuse problem. It's rampant. Yeah, it is. I wish I knew the answer to that.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm not sure who Bill is. But Melanie was supposed to come in person. 4:30.
4:32. I know who Bill is.
Well, that was very
Hi,
enlightening.
Bill.
Who just sent? Hello?
You're on mute.
That's all right.
I don't know. No,
I
he
don't
would
think
have
he would
his
be on
whole
here.
name.
Whoever is Bill on our call, could you just please join and identify?
Maybe he was in error.
Maybe.
Hi,
Hi, how you doing?
nice to meet you, Melissa Ventura.
Hi, Chris Miller, District 6.
Oh, I'm District 3.
I'm going to reposition this a little bit. See if everybody is.
Oh.
You found us.
He's gonna move back. I'll move back too, to make everybody easy.
Make it work.
No, we still don't have
Melanie,
Melanie.
if you can move in a little bit,
Yes.
then we'll all be.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Good.
are.
Perfect.
Okay.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I was actually going through class, just thinking about this whole moment the whole day.
Okay. Well, just so you know, these are very informal interviews and we're just really glad that you're committed to be part of the Youth Commission. So my name is Marcia Goodman-Hinnershitz and I'm from District 2, which people used to call East Reading. It's the area from like 11th Street all the way out to 19th Street, around that area. Okay. And
Melissa Ventura, District 3.
Nice to meet
You
you.
too.
And as I said before, quick Miller, District 6.
Nice to meet you as well.
so, and you're from District 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so great. So Melissa's your go-to person then for council. So what do you want to do on the youth commission? And tell us what you understand about it.
Well, growing up, I was always surrounded by people that suffered like by mental illnesses or always went through a hard time.
Mhm.
And I felt like as a friend, it was my duty to like be there for them and evaluate their feelings. And I want to do that not only for my friends, but others as well.
Yeah, that's great. Have you ever served on any kind of commission or any kind of group, like in school, like,
Yeah.
clubs, that kind of thing?
I am currently in a Vita, so we focus on mental health, and
Mhm.
I'm also collabing with Project Peace.
Right,
So we're just all coming together to help out the youth.
great, great. And those are really good organizations.
Yeah.
Yeah. You sort of involved with Project Peace, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So what do you see like when you get on the board, on the commission? What's like your main thing you want to tackle first?
Honestly, I feel like it would be more of a leadership kind of thing, not only because teenagers nowadays, they don't really have that guidance that they need to get them to the places where they want to be. So I feel like I would like to be their guidance, basically.
Okay.
You see yourself as being a mentor to other youth then?
Yeah, I've always participated in mentoring, such as guiding them through the school and then helping them see what kind of further education they want.
Right.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
One, I know I've met so many kids that their schedules are full.
Yeah.
Are you sure if you take on the commitment that you can make the meetings?
Yeah, of course. I always take time to not only prepare myself for bigger things, but also time management is a huge thing.
Good answer.
Yes.
That's a really good answer. My other question is, with all the boards and the committees, the one thing that's really important is because you're on a board with other members, it's important to have that you're part of a team.
Yeah,
You feel that you would be willing to be able to work with other members on the commission.
yeah. I'm actually friends with Mia Perez. She's the one that introduced me to this whole program. So
You'll be fine.
So you have a good mentor then too?
yeah.
Yeah, great.
That's good. That connection already.
I'm just sort of looking over. So do you have any questions for us at all? Things you'd like to know or about city
Yeah,
government or?
What do you guys like mainly focus besides like mental health? Like, is there anything else, like other projects that you guys get involved in? Or things of that nature?
You mean for the
Mhm.
youth commission?
Yeah.
Right now, they're doing a lot of work with the village, and they're focusing on reducing youth violence. So that's a component. What you're looking at is a component overall of all of that
Yeah.
stuff ties together. So that's where they're focusing right now.
Yeah, I actually, as soon as they started like the teen cafe, I've always gone with them. They're very great people.
Yeah, I think I saw you at the Teen Cafe, haven't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You weren't there when we did that gingerbread house thing, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Middle of the events, yeah.
Yeah, I thought
And the
so.
stuff that I was there as well.
Yeah, I sort of remember it was sort of on over your table, yeah.
Yeah.
I pop into the village, maybe every month or so. So looking at what they do with the village, how do you see that empowers youth? And, how can they take what they're learning there out to the community?
As soon as I started going to the village, I feel like they already made like a big impact, even though they haven't done like a huge thing to like help us, but in a way they like guide us, give us advice that we could use with not only school, but later on in life.
Mm.
So they're doing a very good job with us.
I think going back to my other question, as far as, do you have any questions for us? You started some stuff and I don't know, we got through everything that may be on your mind.
No,
Sorry.
yeah, and you gave me the whole spiel about you guys, which is why I was very interested in being a part of the team.
Okay.
Do you have any concerns, anything that you're not sure of, or?
As far as like, because the kids, they do projects to like put it out there. I would say my question is, would you guys partner up more with like the high school, like specifically the Reading High? Because I feel like that's where we need the most help.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the youth commission is supposed to have a representative from the Reading School Board attend the meetings. They have not been doing so lately. So we're trying to reestablish that, because we can't just go to Reading High when we want to. We have to kind of have permission to and
I
get,
understand.
go through the process. So if we have a board member who's coming to the commission meetings, that makes getting into the high school a lot easier. So right now, they want to, but they've been unable to. So we're kind of trying to work around that right
Yeah,
now.
I understand.
Yeah, maybe just circling back to Reading High, what are your thoughts about how the youth commission should be interacting with what's happening up at Reading High School?
I feel like not only because I feel like they think that it's like only for students, but I feel like students will like to interact more with teachers or like women and men that have already been in their shoes and their position, because I feel like they would be more interested in what they have to say, because they might think that, oh, you're different, so you don't know what I'm going through, even
Mhm.
though that person might have gone through what they've been through.
Right.
So they just need that good life advice, I'd say.
Just so you know, when you were involved with Project Peace, one of the projects coming up that I think the youth commission is involved in is when that peace stove gets,
Oh, yeah, they do the peace march with every year.
oh, you know about the peace stove, the Devon
Yeah.
City Park that's falling apart? Okay, so it's gonna be replaced. The city's committed to that, so hopefully it can be done in conjunction with the march this year
Yeah.
to celebrate peace and having a new symbol of peace in the city.
Yeah, that's very awesome. I heard a lot of.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions for us? Maybe most of you?
No, I don't have any questions. You came in good and strong.
Yeah.
Gave a lot of really good answers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe one of these days you'll be sitting at this table, you know, representing the district too.
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good.
Alrighty, well, will we, I guess, Michelle will be informing you how things go. We have to vote on all the appointees and we'll be doing that next Monday.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Nice meeting you
Thank you.
guys.
Good to meet you.
Nice
I've
to meet
been
you.
emailing and calling, yes.
Yeah, I know, it was very.
Thank you for coming in.
Well, here's Thursday. You were here last Friday night, though, you were.
Yeah.
Were you there? Okay, I'm trying to, there were so many people there on Friday night.
Very surprised.
Yeah.
I seen a lot of faces that are like familiar, that they go to school. I was
Right.
not expecting as much people to go.
What did you think of it?
It was honestly a very good experience. I
Okay.
really loved it. I am in health medical profession, so like
Right.
I'm just always in that field, and to like learn something new outside of class is very.
That's good. I was glad because it was like for me, it's sad, but it's also very energizing to do that demonstration. So,
So now I'm very glad that I got to go through that.
okay. Okay. Well, thank
It was
you.
nice meeting you guys.
You too.
Have a nice day.
Have a good week.
So-
I was just so impressed by the number of people that keep coming up to the village, like as we were
Good,
talking about in
that's-
your meeting with Dara, so. Okay, so I guess the next thing is we need to make some decisions about appointments. And I guess it comes up to the electrical board first. We have 3 candidates now. I guess Melissa said, and I think I'm gonna do the same thing. I'd like to be able to review the,
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna
Video.
do.
Good idea.
okay. And then we can communicate through Shelley as far as who our recommendations are.
And I have a question about a different board. Can I
Okay,
ask?
sure.
For the redevelopment authority, there's one vacancy.
Yes.
How does someone just need to apply and then it gets forwarded to, so no one has applied since our last?
No.
Okay,
No, I don't have any new applications for that board,
all right,
so
thanks. That
you're
was all.
welcome.
And I guess that's on board with another issue that we'll be having present to us. So,
I think we have a meeting with.
right, right.
Yes,
I don't recall what the name is.
Right, right, I saw that.
I think it might be soon.
It's not long.
Right.
Okay.
So are we okay with Dr. Dadoff recommending him for reappointment?
But I think, what he said was really interesting, that he would like to be on the board, but at some point he
Yeah.
wants to get off.
I hear
Which
you.
is good because, having the history of being on the board for somebody new coming on, he'll be there
Mhm.
to sort of educate, guide them before he steps off. That's like the perfect scenario. It doesn't always happen that way.
So there's no vacancies on that board?
I think there's an alternate
So we could
vacancy
go
at
on.
this point.
And when defining health professional, that does not need to be a physician, it can be anyone in the health field, am I correct?
Yeah, there's a really long list. That's everything from a physician to a social worker to a veterinarian. to
CNA?
a Nursing, yeah.
So we all might know, and there isn't any candidates that are waiting for,
No,
okay, so we all might know some folks to be able to get someone in the pipeline.
I think this is the kind of thing, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, where people, they're not aware
Right,
of
That's
the
what I was saying.
boards, the commissions, and when there's an opening. And somehow
Yeah.
there needs to be like a educational open house, something to communicate to
Mhm.
the public that if somebody's interested in serving, they need to know the process.
right.
yeah, and we've gotten away from that. I think COVID sort of shut down some of the things, but we can be a lot more proactive
Mhm.
with highlighting what's available. And you almost have like a job fair, if you may, of the boards
Correct.
and,
And it's a great way for people to be introduced on not a small scale, but what's involved with being on a committee or a board
Mhm.
with the city. And who knows, they may want to continue to move on to another position in city politics or government.
That's a really good way, a starting ground. So do we want to work with Shelley to come up with something to follow through with that so it happens?
Yeah, and I'm also concerned about the description saying that they educate the residents and inform, but he's saying he needs staff. Other boards don't use staff, do
Well,
they?
their staff is me.
Oh,
This is what the issue is.
but has
So,
anything been brought to you to
Um,
promote?
We did a long time ago. That board had a small budget that we used annually for educational things. We did West Nile virus education. We did, as he said, the bed bugs, that we did a lot smaller scale. We didn't do anything with COVID because we relied on the larger, the CDC,
Okay.
the EMS, our fire department was handling a lot of that. So although the Board of Health has certain authorities, it itself doesn't do those things because they're volunteers. So they rely on the health inspectors,
They
the
just-
EMS director, so
Right.
others are doing it and then they all come to the board meetings and report
I mean, but
what's
even
happening,
just,
but it's not, and the bed bugs was the last time they did any kind of educational.
even just a flyer on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's,
But I think to Melissa's point, if they're supposed to be educating,
yeah, and
they get lost and people don't even know that it's in existence.
I didn't
because-
even.
Yeah, right.
I was lost.
The only times that I've worked on when there have been those issues that have been somewhat controversial, like the lead, or when we were trying to do clean indoor air. And, but even then they did very little except to be able to make a position supporting
Right.
legislation. And the piece, and I just want to be honest with you, as far as our Pennsylvania Board of Health, the district office is not very well-staffed either to be able to do what's needed.
Right.
So then it falls back on who is it? And yeah, and so that's why the COVID response was so unpredictable, because everyone needs to there wasn't a structure in there to be able to have that.
Right.
And if we ever have another health crisis, we're not going to be any more prepared.
And I think, in an urban environment where everybody's living so close
Yeah.
together. If
Mhm.
there's an epidemic, you really need to be able to communicate so that people understand what's happening, because if you don't, it could be a real nightmare.
Right.
So who knows what the future holds?
Well, I mean, tuberculosis is coming, it's starting to crop up again. There's a lot of the other, yeah, people aren't getting back, and that's the other thing, no one really promotes, why do we get vaccinated? And because of COVID, vaccines have gotten like a real
Right.
negative rap.
Yes.
So I'm just in thinking through these things, I think it might be good for us to be meeting with the Board of Health as nominations committee, if you guys are okay with that.
I'm okay with
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything else we need? Shelley?
Melanie is a go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You're done.
She's-
She's amazing. That whole group is absolutely fun.
They're a great group of people, right?
So are you basically the staff for them then?
Yeah.
There's no, or there was at one point somebody that was,
There was Frank also from the administration, who, when he stepped back, the person that he asked to come is not. And the school district representative has not, so
Yeah.
it's now,
Somebody picked from the school district, or
yeah, it was a school director. I don't want to say his name,
there's the one.
but he's not coming, and I've contacted him several times to try and get him back in. And I've had no response. I've tried contacting the superintendent's assistant, and I've got no response, so I just don't know. At this point, I don't know what to do next, so
well, they may
the
have their
board is-
hands full. So
I understand that, but
But
At least respond back.
at
Right.
least
Yeah.
I can't right
Something.
now. I'll be there in
Yeah.
April, you know.
And see, one of the bigger issues is Shelley's our NP, our fallback people for staff support for all these boards, authorities and commissions. And I don't think that's ever recognized. That's a major part of council officers' responsibilities.
Yeah.
And how do we share that with the administration, who is just as staffed as we are? They have 3 positions. And,
But plus they have all the professionals that are at their disposal
right,
that we don't necessarily have the
yeah,
ability to tap into.
so I'd like to have that discussion at some point.
Yeah.
But
All right.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Thank you.
On for, let's do our next thing. Well, might as
We got 7 minutes.
Mm.
All the things you have to do.
well.
Bye, everybody.
All right.
Bye, Fred.